Hello and welcome to From Dreams to Reality, a Business Tale podcast interview series. I'm your host today, Jerry Kowalik, and today I'm joined by Nancy Kowalik, founder and owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. The Nancy Kowalik Group is based in Mullica Hill and is one of South Jersey's top realtors. And Nancy has repeatedly been named a top real estate agent across Southern New Jersey for more than 18 years. Nancy, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to kick off our conversation by telling us a bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate you. And a little correction, it's Kowalik. Think of koala, right? Koala bear, Kowalik.
Okay,
And so
we're going to do it again. I
right.
should have asked you that.
Sure. That's fine. I was like, oh, do I stop him? Do I not stop him?
No, you're good.
Okay.
That's what I want to do. And I should have asked you that. Again, tell me how to say it.
Kowalik.
Kowalik. Okay.
Yep.
Koala bear. Okay. I've got it. So
Awesome.
3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to From Dreams to Reality, a Business Tale podcast interview series. I'm your host, Jerry Kowalik, and today I am joined by Nancy Kowalik. Kowalik.
Kowalik. Kowalik. There, the W-A is bigger.
Kowalik.
Yep.
Kowalik. Okay. Kowalik. 1, 2, 3. Hello and welcome to From Dreams to Reality, a Business Tale podcast interview series. I am your host, Jerry Kowalik, and today I am joined by Nancy Kowalik, founder and owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Nancy's group is based in Mullica Hill, New Jersey, and is one of South Jersey's top realtors. And Nancy has repeatedly been named the top real estate agent across Southern New Jersey for more than 18 years. So Nancy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to kick off our conversation by telling us a bit about you and your business?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate you. So real estate, right? So it's an industry of disruption. It's really my fourth career, right? So I was in marketing for a long time, all sorts of marketing. So I like to call myself a marketing company that sells real estate. Because when you learn real estate, they don't really teach you those things, right? So I'm a mom first and a resident of Main Street. And so one of the things I've been doing here for years is have always promoted business, shop local, just love being a part of a community like this. That's walkable. Everybody knows you. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's bad, but it's a beautiful thing. And so it was a natural progression of the different businesses that I've had that I ended up in real estate because I wanted to be able to schedule things around my kids. And that kind of blossomed into something as they grew older, the business blossomed, and this became my new baby. And in the business of real estate, there's an awful lot of models. Mine is team-based with the idea that it's really hard for your surgeon to do everything well. He doesn't answer the phones, he doesn't do the files. And so in real estate, it's really hard for someone to answer the phones and questions, do contracts, take pictures, write descriptions, by the way, get back to you. And so we have specialized members for those seats, and so the focus is the real estate agent deals with you as a buyer or seller, and that's it. And we take care of all the magic behind the scenes. And that has been really amazing for our agents and especially for our clients. We've sold over 1,800 homes, have more 5-star reviews than anybody out there. And I'm really proud of all of that. That's, when I sat back and said, if I got paid in 5-star reviews instead of money, what would my business look like? And this is what it's evolved to. And it's different.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. So 5-star reviews means you're doing a great job.
Yes.
And Mullica Hill is a great area, some great real estate there. So you are in one of South Jersey's hotbeds, I would say, for great real estate.
Yeah.
So, and you did mention marketing, but before we started our interview, a little history. Nancy has also been involved in radio. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So my first love when I was in school, I loved radio. I wanted to be in the news, or so I thought, right? But radio was my form of choice. I loved theater of the mind. It was just entrancing to me. And so I started that in high school. And as I progressed and learned more about the business, I tried news and went, yeah, it's not for me. Because it just on a local level, it just didn't interest me. And I did voice work, I did copywriting, I did everything, but I eventually became an on-air person, which I loved. But unless you're a Howard Stern, you're not going to make a lot of money at this. But it really was my favorite thing. I had my own mobile DJ company. I did, bar mitzvahs and weddings but that was a killer business. And so eventually I turned and, I had a car that died every 2 days. I looked around and went, all the salespeople are driving cars that actually drive them to and from and, without, looking like a plume of smoke. So I ended up getting into the sales end of things. And there's nothing like selling air, I found. And you have to be incredibly creative, but it was still within the form that I loved. And it was still a lifestyle that I loved. And being around those people, the creative types, was so much fun. And I learned so much from it. There's nothing like it. It was amazing, an amazing journey. I worked for WMGQ initially, and then MGK, PEN, FLN, and MMR in Philadelphia radio. And it was such a great time to be in that business.
And how many years did you spend in radio?
So I spent just about 10 years in radio. And I left that. I became one of the youngest national sales managers that they had. I was flying all around the country. So I was home 2 weeks out of every month, which worked for me. I loved it. But when I decided to have a family, I really didn't want to be an absentee mom. And so I left the business about a year after I had my daughter, almost to the day, and walked away from that and stayed home for a number of years and raised her. And then when I got back into things, radio seemed like for some reason, real estate was one of those things that always had a pull for me. I helped friends buy and sell real estate as an advisor. They always asked my opinion. I'm always a geek about the architecture, and I'm a big community fan. So it's just kind of something I thought, let me give this a try. And there's a whole other story about how that happened, but there was a lot of interest on my part, for sure.
All right. Well, today's episode is dedicated to you and your real estate firm. So let's get some questions out there. What inspired you to start your own business, and what was that initial spark that really led you to take that entrepreneurial leap?
So I had opened a small business on Main Street in Mullica Hill. And I decided to close that business so I could spend more time with my family. And I was selling the house on Main Street in the business, and I hired the best realtor in town. And it was a nightmare, when I tell you. So I'm going back into the 2005, 2006 area. We were already building a new home, for $500,000, and I'm trying to sell this home and couldn't ever get this person on the phone. Never, stuck a sign in the lawn and never heard from them, or they would show up late. Just a lot of promises not kept. And I was like, wow, is this what professional real estate looks like? Like, I had been in sales my entire life, and I thought, I think I could probably do this. So I put a for sale by owner sign out front. My phone rang off the hook. That person's phone was always voicemail full, never return calls. I'm like, if I can't call and get through, how is somebody else? So I went and got my license. It only takes you about a month. And then I turned around and learned how to sell real estate by selling my own property. And that's kind of how it began. I was like, if this is the level of professionalism, I would love to bring real professionalism to this industry. And it's been my goal ever since.
Wow, that's a great story, right? And a great start. You sold your own house.
I did. Nothing like having 2 mortgages to motivate the heck out of you.
I hear you. That's right.
Yeah.
A little motivation behind that, right?
Yeah.
So next question. What are some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
It's funny, when you get into any business, real estate, any business, I've had businesses before this, you think, I'm my own boss. So you have to decide what kind of boss you're going to be. In real estate, as your own boss, every client you work with is a boss, because it's on their schedule and their time frame. And so, I hit a point in my career in real estate, and I was, getting ready for work one day, and I'm like, man, my boss is a slave driver. Like, I was literally like constantly, you've got to answer the phones. There was so many demands on you. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. And so I went from being an individual agent, literally juggling everything that a client needed, and trying to juggle family. And I remember thinking, if I miss a client meeting, that client's going to get mad and maybe move on. But if I miss everything growing up with my kids, that's something I can't undo. So I need to find a way to make this work for me. And that's when I started to build a team and kind of realized that, well, I hated paperwork. So the first thing I did was hire an admin to say, you do contracts, keep track of files, do all the paperwork and things that would keep me up from the time I got home from appointments until, 2 a.m. So starting to build a team like that and then looking for mentorship to help figure out the rest of it, because we all have the idea that we can do it ourselves, but getting guidance is huge. And that really made a difference to me.
Yeah, and I'd really like to dive deeper into your team. You told me before the interview, you got a great group of people
I do.
and support one another. But so building a business involves a great team, obviously.
It does.
So what are your thoughts on team building and finding the right people to work with?
So, initially, I've been through a lot of people. I've been doing this for 18 years, and I brought people into the business and I thought, I'm going to teach them how to make money and they're going to love me forever. Well, that's a great thought, but that's not how everybody works, right? And so you teach someone how to fish and then they're like, I'm going to go fish without you. I don't need you. Their standards are not quite up to yours. And so what I've learned over the 18 years is building from culture first. Do our thoughts align on client services, first of all? Because if I have someone who's like, look, I'm out at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. And if the client is waiting with fingernails, because they're waiting to hear about, did I get the house? Did I not? What's going on? And it's like, I'm out until tomorrow. That's not a good culture fit, right? So you have to have priorities. Client service has to be number one. Where do you stand on giving back to the community, giving back to the office, giving back to the community? So the cultural fits, how do you handle disagreements? When I interview someone, I will say to them, look, what's your best case scenario? And tell me something that happened that didn't go as you expected. And how did you work with it? How did you handle it? And what did you learn from it? Right. So, because I know I'm going to make mistakes and my agents and my clients are going to, but what can we learn from it? And let's not make that same mistake a second time. So culture fit is the biggest piece of it. And having that work ethic, everything else can be taught, honestly. The only other piece I've learned, especially since COVID, is do people like to pick up the phone? Because even in office, I get, and I've been through this. I said, I need a t-shirt that says, pick up the bleeping phone, because everybody's like, oh, I sent an email. I sent a text. I'm like, pick up the phone. Hello. But the office staff I have now, I'm blessed. My daughter is actually at the front desk, which I never thought would happen. She's my jack of all trades. She helps with a million things, including keeping me sane. I have a couple people that are just appointment setters. They just answer the phone. So if someone's calling about your house while I'm on this podcast, they're getting an answer immediately, right? So someone is always, huge pet peeve, always answering the phone. I have someone who writes and the descriptions and makes sure the pictures look magnificent and coordinates all of that. I have someone who handles all the contracts and closing and makes sure nothing falls through the gaps. And I have someone who helps run everybody in the office, right? So, and then I have someone who helps me recruit and train people, because I love to do that, but that's a full-time job all by itself. And the training piece, especially in an industry where things are changing constantly, you can't sit back and go like, well, I trained you, you're good. Like, no, people forget their jobs over the weekend in this kind of business, And so training is an ongoing, consistent thing.
Mm-hmm. And how many total people in your staff?
So I have 11 agents that are out there that concentrate on clients. And then I have 5 people in the office that help. And I actually have a virtual assistant in the Philippines. She does amazing video editing for me. And I have another person we've just started with in Canada who's helping with appointment setting too. So just trying different pieces. And it's always seeing what fits and how it works. It's pretty cool.
A global operation.
It is. It is. It really is.
So you had previously mentioned family and how important it was. How do you maintain a work-life balance as a thriving business owner? And do you have any personal rituals or habits that keep you motivated and focused?
Yeah. So really good question, because I will tell you that, as we all do, things fall by the wayside when you start to become successful. And it becomes that, I called it the 12-armed tentacle, like that octopus that was engulfing me, because, I got divorced after 20 years. It's unfortunate, but it happened. So now I'm a single parent. My kids are 10 and 12, and I started this business. And I used to cook dinner every night. I used to grocery shop. I used to, do laundry. I used to do all those things. And I say used to because it hit a point where I'm like, okay, this is a $14 an hour job. That's not what I need to be doing. So I literally found someone to help with those items. And do you know the amount of guilt that surrounds a woman, especially with those things? Like I had to literally talk to other people. I got some guidance from some relatives, because I'm Italian. My name is Kowalik, but that's my married name. But, there was a tremendous amount of guilt around that. And I finally had my grandmother said to me, look, if I could have taught my kids to do what you're teaching your kids, I'd have done that. Instead, this is what I grew up knowing. And so I learned how to cook and I learned to do all those things, but it's okay that you don't. It's okay. Do it when you can. So there was a lot, but I learned to find a way so that I could be present instead of coming home at 7 o'clock after running to the grocery store and trying to cook a home cooked meal. It's like, look, if I can find somebody and hire somebody to, here's what I want to do, plan it, have everything started for me, and in some cases done. So now I can sit with them and be present with my kids at dinner, because we still get to do that a few nights a week. It's nice. And take care of those things that some of us love to offload, some of us love to do it, but it's not possible to do everything, right? So finding someone to help with those tasks was enormous. It was really it was a game changer. It made me, I used to come home at night and cry sometimes, because I was like, I feel like I'm failing everywhere. I'm not getting everything done here, and I can't get everything done at home, and I'm failing everywhere. And that's really hard to deal with. That becomes soul crushing at a certain point.
Yeah. And you see so many businesses that struggle with work-life balance. And you made that genuine decision to say, hey, I'm going to make this happen, not only for me, but for my family. And that's a courageous jump, right? Because a lot of business owners just are so engulfed in the business side. Sometimes they lose a little attention on the family side.
They do. And to me, like I said, I've learned that you see lots of things around you. And my parents were not very present in my life when I was younger. And I did not want to do that to my kids. And it was really important to me. It's like, I can screw up a lot of things, but if I screw up my kids, and I can't undo that. I always say, look, I'm sure I messed them up in other ways, no matter how valiant you try to be perfect, but at least I'm conscious of being there and being present. And for years, my kids saw me working 12, 14, 16-hour days and not seeing it build, and then started to see the growth, and they really resented it to some degree. But I was present at games. I was present at dinner. I was there. But they did see me working too much. And I think they kind of looked at it and went, yeah, I don't want to do that. Look at how much she works. Now they see the benefits of what I was building. And so they're both actually in the business with me now, which is a shock to me, to be honest with you, but it's very cool.
It sounds like a wonderful experience having your children working with you.
It is. And there's a whole different kind of balance there, being mom and the boss. My daughter will say, can I talk to you as mom? I need to vent about my boss. And I'm like, absolutely.
We may save that story for a future episode, by the way. So, next question. So the business landscape is always evolving. So how do you stay adaptable and open to changes? Are there specific strategies you use to remain innovative?
So that's a great question. And so the thing that I would say to everybody is really tune into your intuition more. Sit and because as a business owner, you're doing something different, and there's something inside of you that makes you, want to do more and do different. And I think we can get pulled in directions by things we hear. Every time I've felt a shift going on in the marketplace or things, I'm kind of a little bit ahead of it, and I can feel the tension and things changing, and I have to get quiet. I mean, I'm always researching. I'm always looking, I spend a certain amount of time every day looking at what competition's doing, looking at what's happening on the West Coast and Canada, in different places, because it will eventually reach our shore. But at a certain point, it's absolute overload. And so you have to listen to your intuition. It's what put me where I am at. And inevitably, when I ignore that little voice, I go, damn, I should have listened. Like, why wasn't I paying attention? So I have learned really to tune into that and to go with my gut, because that's probably one of the highest pieces of knowledge that we have. But it's not something that's taught to us. So that's something that I've kind of, discerned over the years, and I've learned to lean into that. This landscape has been crazy. There's lawsuits. We hear about lawsuits every day in real estate. I learned about this 8 years ago when it started, and I changed my business model based on it, knowing this would be the outcome. And I was the outlier. And there were people in my industry that were like, what is that woman doing now? Why is she doing things this way? And I was like, this is the way it's going to evolve. And they were like, well, just wait till it gets here. I'm like, no. I want to be ahead of the competition. And so right now, with all of these buyers agents lawsuits, and now buyers are going to have to sign paperwork the same way a seller has to sign paperwork. That's a lot to put on a buyer when you meet them for the first time. Sign a 5-page legal document that you're tied to me. So it's something I've perfected over the last 6.5 years. And so now everybody else is grappling with it starting in September. And I'm actually help training people in my industry and saying, here's how I've learned to do this over the years. And here's what makes us different. It's part of the education process. And so by listening to that voice back then, it positioned me so well for all of the disruption going on now. I'm just very blessed. And again, it's a group that I mentor with. There's about 1,500 people, and there's the top 10 or 12 that we mastermind and get on the phone with at least once a week, and we go over, this is what I'm experiencing, and we talk through things, and that's amazing too. So listening to each one of us focuses on different areas and pulls something new into the group to allow us to take it next level. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you seeing in the market right now?
So it's an interesting market, right? So we know the bell curve for people aging into being first-time buyers is now hitting the high point of the bell curve. What's hitting the low side of the bell curve are builders, right? So back in 2008, when everything shifted and we were the second largest growing community on the Eastern Seaboard, when everything happened with mortgages, Mullica Hill and Woolwich Township, we were growing rapidly. Builders were building, 2 and 3 and 400 homes at a time. Those people lost everything, right? And so the landscape now, you see builders, you're seeing them build 40 homes. You're seeing them build, so they're building much more smaller pockets. And there's an awful lot of kids that have been living in their parents' basements, living in, communally, that are like, all right, it's time to become an adult. Their age, it's a little older, but they're coming in as first-time buyers at a time, and they're competing with people that are maybe stepping down from a larger home. And there's just not enough inventory. It's just that simple. People are like waiting for the market to correct. I'm like, well, if someone comes in and builds 1,000 homes tomorrow, the market will correct. Right now, we have like 1.5 months of inventory. In a real estate lingo, we should have at least 6 to 9 months of inventory for it to be a fair market. So right now, buyers are getting beat up. One person can buy a house, we get 20 offers, right? If the interest rates go down a little bit more, we're going to get 50 offers again. I mean, it's overwhelming. And those poor kids getting their teeth kicked in over and over again. It's hard. And they don't want to hear you're going to have to pay $50,000 more for a house. So it's an education piece, but the market is very disruptive right now. This is an election year. So this is the one piece of it that, I think our current president needs to kickstart the economy a little bit more. So I do think they're going to tick the interest rates down. You're seeing them adjust a little down, not a lot. Everybody said this year the interest rates are going to come down. They're going to be 7 decreases. It hasn't happened. And sellers are going, well, if this is what I can get for my house, of course I'm going to take it. That's market value, what someone will pay for it, right? This is America. And so it's an interesting dichotomy, but the thing that it's slowed a little bit. Sellers were at one point, even if you had a roof that needed to be replaced, the sellers were like, let the next person deal with it. Now they're having to say, well, all right, I'll give you a credit for that roof, right? So because buyers are saying, I don't have to move, right? So that's the difference. For a while, there was so much pent-up demand that people were making crazy deals, and they kind of pulled back and went, all right, I'm going to pull back and see what I can do. And so there's a bit more reason in the market, but we're still seeing things heavily weighted in favor of the seller for sure.
Okay, great. Well, you have a thriving business as we've seen.
Yes.
Next question. What's the future look like for you and your team?
So I'm always doing new things. I recently got my mortgage lender's origination license so that I can do mortgages. So as there's so much disruption in this business, you're going to see a contraction, right? There's only so many homes to sell. There's so many things to go along. And so what I've looked at is, look, if I can do more business with the people I'm already working with and the trust that I've built up. So if I can sell you a house and also help you get the right financing for that house, that's going to give you it's a win-win, as long as it's a win for you. So that's something I just passed all my tests. I'm literally going through my background check. So we're adding that umbrella to your home sold guaranteed realty, which I'm excited about. We get people, because I've been here for 30 years, and I've been everything from a Girl Scout leader to, I chaired the Joint Land Use Board for many years. For 24 years, I was in service to the community as a volunteer in some way, shape, or form. So people will call me and say, hey, Nance, who do you use for a lender? And I keep sending them to people that some of them do a great job, some of them do an okay job. I'm like, listen, again, let's bring professionalism to this. So I'm excited about bringing that arm in so that I can do a bit more representation for my clients and make sure it's a 5-star experience there as well.
And what's the timeline on launching this part of your business?
So this is probably within the next 4 or 5 weeks, literally. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So you've got it all covered.
Yes. Always
Yeah,
working on something new.
great, great. So the last question I have is we're going to tap into your expertise as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What advice would you offer aspiring entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey?
Read the book, The E-Myth, right? It's an excellent book because listen, if you're a baker and you do excellent product, you have to think about all the mechanicals of that business, right? So there's so many pieces of it. In real estate, it's the same thing. It's like, look, I can talk to you about selling your house and buying your house, but having an escrow account, having the right photographer, and having all of these other pieces, people need to think through as they're getting into it. Don't deter yourself from it, but just get good people around you or have a good plan in place so that as you grow, you don't make panic decisions, you make proper decisions. And go for it. You fail forward, right? There's too many people that talk themselves out of things. If you think you have a better mousetrap, I believed I did just by my sheer will to do things. And if you believe in yourself, then whatever else you're doing, you're going to do well. And I think too many people talk themselves out of it because they don't have a safe landing spot. And I hate to see it. I see people that have that regret. They're sitting there at a table and they're like, oh, I wanted to do this years ago, or I wanted to do that. I'm like, why didn't you do it? Oh, well, I was worried about not having a steady income. I was worried about not having benefits. I was worried about whatever. Meanwhile, their lives are less than, and I don't want to live a life less than. So go for it.
Make that leap.
Absolutely.
Great. So before we end our interview, Nancy, the most important question, how can people get in touch with you
Thank you.
and learn
Thanks for
more about
asking.
what you do?
Yeah. So phone number 856-478-3122. That's call or text. And then nancykowalik.com. And so it's an easy way to get in touch with me. You can look us up. We're on Google. We're pretty much anywhere you're going to look for us. But it's all about getting you best price with the least amount of hassle and the personal touch. We're here for that white glove service. So reach out and we will respond always.
Great, great. Again, Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great hearing about your business, learning more about you and your team, and your vision for success. So always good having entrepreneurs on our podcast and learning about their success stories. So to everyone watching, again, thank you for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you all in our next episode. This is Jerry Cavella. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Hey,
Awesome.
I love your energy, by the way.
Thank you. Can I take a quick screenshot right here? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for
Awesome. Okay, cool.
it.
Thank you. I love what I do. I'm really blessed. So,
Yeah, yeah.
good.
No, I love your energy, right? That's what it's about. Successful people have that energy, and it's good to share that, and the fact that you said make that leap of faith, that's good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't, let's face it, don't have that courage, right? They would like to.
They don't. They really don't. And it's a sin. Yeah.
Right. And the beautiful thing is the people that do, they tell that story over and over again, right?
They do. I've brought my best real estate agents in my business have been people that I've converted from other businesses. So they were entrepreneurs in their own right, had a
Yeah.
restaurant owner who was toiling 16, 17 hours a day. And I'm like, if you're not at least making 100,000 and constantly kvetching about money. And I'm like, you're not making 100 grand take home. It's like, I'm not even making close to that. PS sells the business to the partner, comes into real estate, made 150,000 the first year and was like, oh my God, you gave me my life back, took his kids to Rome a year later. And he's like, I hadn't been on vacation with them in 8 years. So that is amazing. That's someone you're going to have for life and amazing with the clients, so I've got so many stories like that, which I love. Makes a difference. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of what you said today resonates with me too. So a little background history on me, 21 years as a journalist. So I wasn't in radio, but I was in newspapering.
Wow.
So yeah, news editor, and I loved it coming out of school, went to dare I say, Glassboro State
There
College.
you go. Nice.
And people go, what? Where is that? So now I refer to it Glasgow State / Rowan
Rowan,
University.
yeah.
Um, yeah, 21 years and mid 90s. Really giving away my age now. Uh, Looked up and the industry had changed so dramatically I didn't even recognize it anymore. So by mutual consent, I guess you could say, I left that job. And it's interesting because you get caught in something, it's like, I can't do anything else. What am I going to do?
Right. Right.
And you're getting pushed out of the journalism nest. I always say it was the worst and best day of my life because you're out there and it's like, holy cow, I could do whatever I want. And it got so exciting, you know. I mean, the last, gosh, I don't even say, last 29 years have been remarkable. That the entrepreneur in me kind of took over and launched a few businesses and found some success. And now when people say, "Oh my gosh, I lost my job," I go, "Congratulations."
That's good.
You can do whatever you would like right now. And they look at me like I'm crazy, but
Mhm.
you've lived it too, right? And it's the
Yeah,
truth. And
it
I always
is.
say you could do whatever you want. And some people are just, they're not wired to think that way.
Of
It's like,
course.
no, I need a job. It's like, well, do whatever you like. So,
Yep.
but again, thank you so much. I'd love to schedule a follow-up session just to hear more about you, any ways that I could potentially help you, referrals or such. I'm right around the corner from you, so it's good to know realtor in the Mullica Hill area.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if you are interested, I'm I'm a soft guy regarding a conversation. I don't push anyone, but be interesting to share some I'll share some information with you and hopefully um, you may know someone who could utilize my services. I've been very
Absolutely.
lucky. You know, I always say it took me till I was 60 to discover what I really like in my life. So from that standpoint, I'm probably as energized as you when I talk about my business.
That's
So
awesome. No, but and listen, I have so many friends that are, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I'm like, I get it. Like I said, I don't think this is my final career. Like I
yeah.
still think I have other things to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you have so much energy to give, right?
Exactly.
You did mention you're volunteering, right?
Yes.
So who knows what the next chapter will be, but
Exactly.
you've got too much energy to just sit around, Nancy, that's for sure.
Thank you.
So
No, I would love
uh,
that. So just whether send a link or I'll send something back and we'll figure it out for sure.
yeah, I'll follow up with an email. Usually
Cool.
production, they're about 7 to 10 days.
Okay.
So uh, we'll exchange possible dates and we'll schedule something. I'm not too far away, so if not Zoom or something like that, maybe a cup of coffee in
Yeah.
Mullica Hill.
Yeah.
What's the diner right there at the corner?
Harrison House.
Harrison House. So
Mhm.
maybe a cup of coffee at the Harrison House or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Or
Absolutely.
your choice.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll follow up with an email
Cool.
and hopefully this will be productive for you, generate a little bit more interest in your business. Thank you so much for correcting my pronunciation of your name. Did I get it
Absolutely.
right?
You did get it right.
Oh,
Yes, you
okay.
did. Kowalik. So as they say, it's koala, koala bear, Kowalik. Yeah,
And you've been in communication. So sometimes you're trying to say it so clearly,
I
you
know.
can't say it.
Believe me, I've been down that road. So yeah.
Yeah, I was watching the teleprompter as your name was coming up. It was like there's that sense of urgency, that nervousness that you get inside. You're like, all right, I think I can get past it. Yeah, okay. I think I saw out of the corner of my eye, you kind of gave me a little nod, like,
Yeah.
phew, Jerry's going to take all day trying to get this right. But great information today.
Thank you.
Again, as soon as I get it, I'm going to post it on my social media. We've been getting a nice following. We started this a month and a half ago.
Nice.
Um, the old journalist in me, sometimes I'm still getting my legs under me after all those interviews over all those years. But it's like riding a bike with some training wheels on it right now. I haven't had
How does how do you guys pick guests? How do you decide?
I kind of focus in on territory, on industries. Um, Quite frankly, I've had some success working with realtors and their teams, or looking at communication skills and how do we connect with the people that we're talking to make sure that resonates in an easier sale. So a lot of stuff that you probably do, but I've had some fun with the realtors and we've had some great success. So he's been great. The gentleman that is working with me to find those folks. Uh, I don't know the technology that he uses, but he zeroes in on exactly, I'm looking for, basically I said, I'm looking for successful realtors in the Southern New Jersey area.
Mhm.
And within a day or two, I saw your name and I went
Oh,
online and checked out your website like we all do
yeah,
and your LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. And it was all good. So,
nice.
it is interesting though, because I notice when people set up an interview with me, I get an alert from my LinkedIn that says so and so visited your site. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
we're checking each other out. Is
Yes,
he really legitimate? Who is that Cavella guy?
right.
Yeah, but it's all good.
Cool.
Um, Thank you again. We took a little bit more time than I anticipated, but it was a great conversation.
Cool.
And
Thank
I
you.
wish you the best. Look for my follow-up emails and we'll get all those materials to you too.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, Jerry. Thank you.
All right, Nancy, you have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take care.